My name is Ohana Klache, and welcome to the Business 7 Show. Let's take a look at key events that made the headlines this week. Joining us in Business 7 this week is Anika Els of the Namibia Financial Institution Supervisory Authority. She will talk to us about the Regulatory Sandbox Initiative. Hello Anika, how are you?
Good day. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing very well, thank you.
The Regulatory Sandbox Initiative. Firstly, what is the Regulatory Sandbox?
So, in the area of innovation, NAMFISA has two objectives. The first one is to promote safe digital and non-digital innovation. So, digital innovation is when you use technologies or tools to provide a platform, a service, or product that is something new to the market. And non-digital innovation is when you are innovating in a way to enable your products, services, or solutions to reach, for example, underserved communities or excluded consumer groups. These two objectives from NAMFISA led to the successful establishment of the regulatory sandbox. And this is a controlled environment where non-bank financial sectors can safely test their products, services, solutions, or business models under the close supervision of NAMFISA. These tests are conducted in real time with real consumers, real data, real transactions. And because of that, we do impose certain safeguards to limit risk exposure and ensure our consumers remain protected. Of course, consumer protection is a big priority for NAMFISA, as well as maintaining financial stability and integrity. And that's why we conduct these controlled tests within the sandbox environment before allowing our innovators to provide their services in the larger market.
Would you perhaps walk us through some of the initiatives that are currently taking place within the regulatory sandbox?
Yes, in 2023 at our flagship FinTech Square event, we launched the NAMFISA regulatory sandbox. And we also called for the first applications of our first cohort. The first cohort is still ongoing. It is focused on microlending solutions. So we are open to business solutions, business to consumer solutions. And like I said, the cohort is still running. So if there are any innovators in the microlending space that is offering a new product, service, solution, anything innovative, this sandbox cohort is for you. Another initiative that NAMFISA is running is the FinTech Square event that I referred to earlier. It's an annual themed event aimed at enhancing collaborative efforts in the FinTech ecosystem. And it's a networking opportunity for our innovators, and it is focused on the Namibian innovator. We really want to get the Namibian experience so that our sandbox is tailored to the Namibian innovator, the Namibian consumer, and that NAMFISA, as primary regulator of this sandbox, really can gain evidence that can inform our policy decisions going forward. So these events are a big opportunity for our innovators, our financial institutions, fellow regulators, investors, anybody with a keen interest and enthusiasm for fintech and innovation to get together, have these conversations, learn about the regulatory sandbox that NAMFISA offers, and several other initiatives that is running outside of the sandbox as well.
I wanted to backtrack a little bit, and you mentioned the aspect of risk. How does NAMFISA ensure that within this sandbox environment that risks are properly catered to and taken care of?
Yes, that is a very, very good question. And of course, it remains a top priority for NAMFISA to ensure that our consumers are protected, our financial stability is maintained. And the only way to do that is to ensure that the risk is properly addressed, identified, assessed, and mitigated. So how we approach it is we introduce several safeguards within the test that will be conducted, such as a limit on the number of consumers, a limit of the number of transactions, and several other limitations, or I don't really want to call it limitations, let's call it safeguards, controls that are in place to curb the risk, because risk exposure, we want to keep it to a minimal. So we introduce those safeguards. And also before testing starts, we sign a testing agreement with every innovator that will partake in the sandbox test. And that testing agreement also includes certain key performance indicators that we are closely monitoring to ensure that, for example, their cybersecurity is up to standard, to ensure that their consumers are adequately informed. They do have complaints procedures in place. So from our end, how we curb the risk is introducing those controls and also ensuring that monitoring is happening very close and we are on top of their operations, what is happening and how they are doing business.
And then lastly, to the interested parties, how do I, as a micro lender, someone that wants to offer business-to-business solutions and so on, how do I participate? Do I have to wait for a specific period, or is it open throughout the course of the year?
So the microlending cohort is open throughout the course of the year. We can take your application, even if you want to reach out and maybe conduct a presentation to find out what are the regulatory requirements. Do you qualify for the sandbox? You can reach NAMFISA, or you can email the regulatory sandbox team directly. So that email address is regulatory.sandbox@namfisa.com.na. And our team will get back to you. We can schedule a call, we can schedule a talk to discuss innovation and how NAMFISA can assist you. Because like I've mentioned, I think I've several times, is we really want to promote the safe innovation. We want to create an enabling environment for our innovators so that they can freely innovate and provide their products and services, which is safely tested and vetted after testing.
Thank you so much for joining us on Business 7, Annika.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
And that concludes Business 7 for this week. The Namibia Revenue Agency recently signed a memorandum of understanding with its Chinese counterpart aimed at streamlining customs operations. Let's take a look.
In our respective nation, a memorandum of understanding of this nature to promote cooperation and partnership between our two institutions is key for economic development of our countries.
那么此次纳米比亚税务局与中国海关将就双方的一个合作进行合作谅解备忘录的签署。那么此次将进一步推动双方在合作以及未来进一步的合作方面有着重要的意义。
Our founding president and father of the Namibian nation, Dr. Sam Nujoma, may his soul rest in peace.
The Windhoek Country Club and Resort recently declared a 25 million dividend to government following strong revenues received in the 2024 financial year. This is the second dividend handover to government since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Just a few years ago, myself and the team, when we were assigned this momentous task to steer and direct Windhoek Country Club and Resort, we encountered a property brimming with potential, yet navigating a landscape dotted with considerable challenges. The global hospitality industry faced profound disruption, and our ability to not only recover but to flourish in this post-pandemic era is a powerful testament to the robustness of our business model and the effectiveness of our dedicated leadership and our management team, who are mostly present here today. Today, it fills me with immense delight to report the dramatic reshaping of our financial narrative. Through astute planning and unwavering focus, we have not only grown our revenues, but have also significantly increased our profitability, and fortified our reserves to levels previously unseen. Today, we are proudly announcing a dividend payment of 25 million to our valued shareholder for the financial year 2024-25. Maybe I should repeat that so that we get some credit.
City of Windhoek Acting CEO Jenny Komali recently gave the business community an update into efforts made around reviving the Windhoek Central Business District.
And it still remains that, and that's why we're here today, to revive that spirit of the CBD. We want it to be a place where business, culture, and community intersects. The vivacity of Windhoek's identity, the economic resilience, and the ability to attract and retain investments, that is really what we want to discuss and work on today. We recognize that this needs urgent collaborative public-private partnerships to ensure that the CBD remains dynamic, inclusive, and competitive. Today's discussion will focus on practical solutions in terms of enhancing safety, improving public spaces, fostering an environment where business and residents can thrive. And your contribution today, ladies and gentlemen, is vital in shaping these efforts.
Windhoek Mayor Ndashihafela Laranja says no work has gone into putting up special rating area that will allow for the revival of the city of Windhoek Central Business District.
The business community is the backbone of economic growth in our city. I realized that in 2023, we took a resolution on special rating regulation. However, to date, nothing has happened. And the fact that I took a decision to focus on local economic development, I saw it fit to also focus on the special rating area, which aims at reviving our CBD, which is currently decaying.
The Bank of Namibia recently launched a modified $50 banknote. The new banknote features the signature of sitting Governor Johannes Kavagap. The bank's Deputy Director for Currency, Cindy Philippus, explains the move.
I launched the same banknote. It is not the same banknote. There has been a change to a key public recognition feature, and that is Governor's signature. In accordance with international standards and best practices, the signature of the sitting governor must be depicted on banknotes. This not only reinforces the integrity of the banknote, but acts as an authentication mechanism for the public because the signature is easily recognizable. It also acts as a robust anti-counterfeiting measure. Therefore, upgrading the banknote with the governor's signature is not just a formality. Once again, it provides authenticity and legal backing, which are essential to instilling confidence in our currency.
Staying on central banking matters, Bank of Namibia Johannes Kavagap says the launch of the modified $50 note is not just done for the mere sake of doing it, but that it has to be done in line with best practices.
Over the past 3 years, the Bank of Namibia has systematically upgraded 4 denominations: the 10 Namibia dollar, the 20 Namibia dollar, 100 Namibia dollar, and the $200 notes. Today, we complete the cycle with the unveiling of the modified 50 Namibia dollar banknote, which is a proactive response to evolving market demands as previously outlined by the Deputy Director of Currency Operations. So we do not modify currency for the sake of modifying. If somebody feels that, wow, so you've decided this morning we're going to just take the $50 banknote and put in the governor's signature. No, we needed to order new $50 banknotes, and because we've reached that reordering point, if a new one comes in, it needs to bear the signature of the current sitting governor. That's why we have got this event today. So someone called me and said, are you really modifying because you are there? It's not the case. If that's the case, we should have modified when I joined the bank 5 years ago. So we were waiting until there's a demand, and now we've got a demand for the $50 notes. We've ordered them and we have signed them.
Thank you, Madam Director of Ceremonies. Good morning, everyone. How do you know that the currency person just walked in? It's the person holding all the papers, unlike my colleague here who's digitally savvy. Governor, allow me to stand on the protocol that has been established by the Director of Ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. All right. It is indeed an honor for me to address you today on a theme that I am so passionate about, and that is currency. It is an agreement written on a tiny piece of paper called a banknote, which is regarded as a contract between the central bank and the holder of the said piece of paper. Ladies and gentlemen, the history of currency stretches back centuries to practices that existed long before banknotes. The first form of this contractual obligation was bartering, be it livestock, beads, or even flour. An exchange took place between two parties. This was followed by the emergence of promissory notes, often regarded as the equivalent of paper money, and which outlined financial obligations between two parties and was sealed with a signature. During the pre-independence era, Namibia relied on the South African rand and the British pound as a medium of exchange and to further strengthen trade. This resulted with independence in 1993. We managed to launch our first three denominations, the 10, 50, and $100 denominations. In 1996, the full set of series was concluded by adding on the 20 and the $200. Ladies and gentlemen, this symbolized our first monetary identity as a country. Fast forward a few years on, and we have added 2 commemorative banknotes onto the Namibian currency portfolio, one of which received international recognition, and one launched earlier this year, we are hoping will follow suit. A question that we normally get, a frequent question that we normally get as the Currency Management and Banking Operations Department is, what informs the bank's decision to print money? Well, the process is quite straightforward and consists of 4 elements. Firstly, the legal framework, which consists of the Bank of Namibia Act, Act 1 of 2020, and which sets out the mandate under which we operate. From an operational framework perspective, we have the bank's currency design and production policy that provides guidelines and standards for the design and production of the banknotes. So I want to lay a myth to rest here. We don't just remove Captain Hendrik Witbooi and add Cindy Philippus. There is a framework, there is a process that governs how we update our banknotes. A key element that also influences our replenishment is currency in circulation and the quality of banknotes circulating within the country at a particular time. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, the lifespan and currency stock levels which are calculated using a sophisticated currency forecasting model, influences the final element, ultimately the demand for currency by the public. The currency forecasting model works on a 3-year average issuance and calculates the stock requirements thereon, taking into consideration factors, as I said, like your lifespan of the banknotes and the lifespan of the banknotes, as well as inflation. So, this is how we came to the decision to replenish the $50 banknote. All these measures, ladies and gentlemen, enable the bank to guarantee a high-quality banknote with advanced security features to prevent counterfeiting and uphold public confidence in our national currency. What is the significance of the $50 banknote being launched today? Well, the $50 banknote holds a strategic position within our currency system, as it is a middle-range denomination, and it is widely used for practical daily transactions. The high demand from the public underscores its vital role in everyday trade and commerce. I normally think of the $50 note as the middle child, often overlooked, sometimes not seen, but when not present, you're very, very much, you'll feel that they're not present. So banknotes are not just issued at random. Contrary, to ensure that the $50 banknote is recognized as legal tender, the banknote underwent a formal gazetting process in accordance with the Act and the bank's policy. This process ensured that the banknote is officially authorized for circulation and classified as legal tender, given the change to governor's signature. Another question that requires addressing is, why launch the same banknote? It is not the same banknote. There has been a change to a key public recognition feature, and that is governor's signature. In accordance with international standards and best practices, the signature of the sitting governor must be depicted on banknotes. This not only reinforces the integrity of the banknote, but acts as an authentication mechanism for the public because the signature is easily recognizable. It also acts as a robust anti-counterfeiting measure. Therefore, upgrading the banknote with the governor's signature is not just a formality. Once again, it provides authenticity and legal backing, which are essential to instilling confidence in our currency. Ladies and gentlemen, with the launch of the modified $50 banknote today, the bank is completing the full set of the JG banknote series. An exercise that commenced with the issuance of the $10 in 2022, followed by the $20, $200, and $100 modified banknotes, the last of which was launched and issued in Lüderitz last year. Governor, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on this significant achievement. Can we just round of applause? In conclusion, I would like to leave you with a quote from Ken Blanchard, a renowned author and consultant known for his work on leadership and organizational behavior, who coined the phrase, "Cash is not currency. It's not just currency. It is the oxygen of survival in a world that breathes transactions." This quote underscores the power of cash in shaping individual lives and global economies, allowing for freedom of choice and endless opportunities. As we navigate the digital payment landscape, we are cognizant that cash will remain an indispensable payment instrument. However, we also know that there is a need for cash to metamorphosize itself. in order to adapt to ever-changing needs of society, which will likely influence how physical currency is designed, produced, and secured. For the time being, however, we can confidently assert that cash will hold and will continue to hold a dominant position, or in the Namibian context, cash will remain queen. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the Business 7 show. We do hope to catch you again next week. Have yourself a pleasant evening.